Let's look at number 14. We're going to do a regression run. First of all, when it's these regression problems, you always want to look at the type of regression they're asking for. So quadratic regression on this one, and you're using your calculator. For all of these problems, you are using your calculator for all the questions. You shouldn't have to calculate anything by hand when you get the hang of how to do these. So I'm going to show you that here. Okay, so all of our data here, this is going to be obviously our x and our y. That's the way we've been setting all these problems up. But don't forget, before we even start, that we're going to have a graph where advertising is along the x-axis here, and that's going to create a number of, I definitely spelled that wrong, but I'm not fixing it now. And then there's revenue over here. Okay, so advertising, revenue, and we're going to be graphing this. Now the other thing before I even start, this says in thousands of dollars. So when I see 25 here, that's not $25, that's $25,000. When I see 8,284 here, that's not really 8,284. That's 8,284,000, which means adding 3 zeros, that's actually $8,284,000 in revenue. So we got to think about that before we even start the problem. Now, you don't have, the reason we're doing this and making them smaller is you can keep the numbers smaller and you don't have to deal with all these zeros when you work through a problem. So just keep that in mind. It's definitely going to come into play when we get to B. Okay, but first of all, I'm going to save time. You may have to pause the video here and enter them in, but I already put my data into a spreadsheet here. Okay, once I'm in that spreadsheet, there's a few things we've talked about how you can do. First of all, if you just want to see what the data looks like, if you want to get a glance at it, you can go to Doc, Insert, and you can go to this Data and Statistics. It'll give you a spread or a little scatter plot here. You have to click the bottom to make that our X value, and then you can click the other side to make it our Y. And you'll see that this data could definitely be represented, especially with this data piece, as a quadratic regression. Now, a fast way of getting the regression all in the same screen here is to then go to Menu, Analyze, Regression, and go to Quadratic. So that actually plots it all for you. That's definitely hard for me to read. I'm going to grab it and try to move it. Apparently they're not letting me do that. There it is. All right, but that's our regression right there. So that's our answer over here. F of x is going to be equal to, and actually I should say approximately because we're going to round here. And why don't we round to 2 decimals? Let's try that. So that'd be negative 0.65 x squared, and that'd be plus 40.16, it looks like, x. And then I'm having a hard time seeing that one. There it is. Plus 7,683.67. Okay, so that's our quadratic function of best fit. It's going to open down, okay? So we're going to have a max here. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But for right now, I want you to see something else. So if I go back to this other tab on my calculator, to go make predictions, I definitely need to go through the process of this stat calculation. So I go to Menu, Statistics, Stat Calculations, and then I go to Quadratic Regression. I pick X from my drop-down. I pick Y from the drop-down. Don't forget to do that. And then this is very important. It's default setting to F1, but just to know, we are going to shoot this out to the F1 function. And then as you look here, I got these same A, B, and C values here as we got on our other screen. But now I can go to Doc, Insert a Graph, and see how it goes to F2. Remember, I can go up, and there's my F1. It's been exported. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Enter to graph it. No surprise here. We can't see it. So that's because our window is not set up correctly. So I'm going to go to Menu, Window, Window Settings, and my data here is from 25 to 39. Now we don't have to write in 25,000. It's already been considered because this is what we typed into our table. So basically I'm going to go outside of that a little bit. I'm going to say let's go 20 and let's max out at 50. Hopefully that'll be okay. The Y min definitely has to change. I'm going to change it to 8,000. and then I'm going to put the max at like 8,500. Those aren't exact needed answers. You just got to get to a point when I click OK, I can kind of see what's going on with my quadratic. Okay, so basically I'm sitting here and I've got a quadratic. Well, the next thing to make predictions, we need to put a point on this thing. So I'm going to go to Menu, Geometry, Points and Lines, Point On. So now I can go anywhere. I can go right here and I can double click and I can double click. There we go. And I put a point on. Now I know people are getting, at least a few kids I've talked to are getting freaked out by this. It's just scientific notation. That says, I can't read it real well, probably 8.29 times 10 to the, okay, times 10 to the, that's what E means, third. So again, all you have to do, I'm going to escape out of this tool that I have, but all I got to do is hover over that. And if I hover over that and hit the plus sign, you will see more values there. It won't be scientific notation. So that goes along with what our table was. All right, so this part B right here says, predict the total revenue if $41,000 is spent on advertising. Well, you don't think about it as $41,000 for your table. You think about it as 41 because that's what our table is in, thousands of dollars. So I'm going to go over here and change that to a 41. And then when I hit enter, boom, it jumps right over here. And it says to me that, and I'll just put the number it says 8243.6979. Okay, but remember, this is not the answer. You can't put just money next to that. That's in thousands. That's in thousands. So just think about it. If 5 was in thousands, we would put 3 zeros over here, right? Or we would move the decimal plate to the right 3 times, okay, from 5, sorry. We would actually move the decimal so that we would have 5,000 because the decimal would be here. We'd move the decimal to the right 3 places. So this has to move 1, 2, 3 places. So again, this actual answer is 8243, but then we have 697.9. So actually this would be like this, and then we move to the left, 1, 2, 3, comma, 1, 2, 3, comma. That's 8,243,697.9. Okay, so that would be approximately on that. Okay, and just to finish strong here on this last one, we want to put in here in the Y value. Now I'm going to double click the Y value, and I'm going to put in 8,000. Now again, why 8,000? Because they gave me 8 million, but if I take off 3 of those zeros, it's really 8,000 in our table. Okay, so if I do that and I hit enter, it's gonna say I cannot move to that spot, unfortunately. So let's see why that's happening. I'm gonna get my value over to the other side here. I think what that might be is because I don't have my X value set low enough. Let's look at this real quick. I made my X value only go over here to 20. It was from 20 to 50. Well, at an X value of 21 or 21,000 in advertising, it's only at 8242. So I need to be off the screen a little bit. So I'm glad that happened so we can talk about changing the window settings here. And we're going to change the X minimum. I'll just make it 0. Why not? Go to 0. And then that's going to expand it a little bit so I can see more of the graph. Now I'm going to double click that and I'm going to make it 8,000. And I hit enter and it jumps right down here to 9.25. So if I'm hovering over that, I can hit the plus sign to see all of the decimals there. I'm going to move that up. Hold on. So that says 9. I'm having a hard time seeing that. 0.2543. It's very small on the screen. 9.2543. I hope I'm telling you the right number there. But again, we need to move the decimal over 3 places. So basically, that's going to be approximately $9,254.30 for our answer there. I hope this helped.